Justin and the band. Opening our hearts in this moment. So happy June. Months just keep on flying. Happy June. Happy Pride Month, everyone. Yesterday, I got the opportunity to stop by Richmond Pride, and I'm just proud that I didn't walk away with a massive sunburn. So there's that. Yes, and I want to say, speaking of love for our band, that our Ahava band has been asked to perform at Lexington Pride. So we are super proud of them. Yeah, it is a very, very, very cool opportunity for us to get to shine our light with the thousands upon thousands of folks that will be at Pride, and that is Saturday, June 24th. And make sure you come out and support our band and all the love that is Lexington Pride. So this month, we are kicking off a new theme, and that is embracing self-care. Now, I want you just to take a moment, just when I say the word self-care, and notice, do you have any sort of reaction? Is there any kind of body sensation or thoughts or opinions that immediately come to mind when I say that term? And just notice, that's all. So self-care is this concept, this term that fairly recently has become more and more common in our vernacular, yes? It's kind of tossed around very casually these days, and often as an invitation, as a solution for all the madness going on in the world. Is we just need more self-care. So I wanted to look a little deeper about this concept, and what we discovered is that it was actually first started in the 1950s as a medical term. So this concept of self-care was something that doctors would actually prescribe to patients, these certain activities to do to remind their patients and encourage them to know their own inherent self-worth. And by then knowing their self-worth, their patients it would be easier to cultivate these healthy habits for our physical body, such as eating right and exercising, sleeping well, all of these things that we now know are the building blocks to a healthy body. And as time went on, the term began to then move into more of the civil rights movement in order to encourage people to practice self-care, to have the energy and the fortitude to continue to pursue acts of justice and equality. And today, I would say that is even more important, right? How do we find that sense of care and balance to fuel us to do the good works in the world that need to be done without completely exhausting ourselves or getting burnt out? But like most things in our consumerist culture, self-care has now been another term that has been twisted into a commodity, right? Something else to buy or consume in order to then show ourselves that we love ourselves, right? Something that we have to do or get outside of ourselves is what some companies and marketing would tell us that we need, something out there to have an experience of self-care. And so I just bring this up because we have to be mindful of what these words mean in order to really hold the true intention of the word and what it means for ourselves. So many brands then have jumped on this bandwagon and say things like, you deserve it, right? Or you deserve a break today. We've been hearing that one. You deserve to take this trip and fly to this beautiful beach for all that you have done. Yes, for thousands of dollars that you have after working hard than a break, right? Like there's so many complex levels to this idea of you deserve it. And the truth is we are inherently worthy, and of course we deserve all that we desire. But we don't have to get to a point where we feel exhausted and then depleted and think, oh, I deserve something. I need this to make me feel better. We had the opportunity last weekend, my family, to go down to visit my family, my extended family in Atlanta, Georgia, and had a bit of a family reunion on Memorial Day weekend with my mom and her cousins and that side of the family. And we decided to take our daughter Cadence and another little cousin down to downtown and explore some things in the city. So when I was in high school in Atlanta is when we got to host the Olympics. So it was a very special time in my life and lots of great memories. So we took them down to Centennial Olympic Park and showed them around all of that. And then also decided to go to the World of Coke, the Coca-Cola Museum, because many of you know the Coca-Cola company was founded right there in Atlanta. So we go and, first of all, you pay, not a minimal admission charge to go in. And one of the first things they have you do is sit you down in this big theater, this big screen, and they play this 10-minute movie / commercial of happy moments. And, every joyous moment from, birth to graduation to skydiving and all these heightened emotions, right? And they're just playing on your emotions and then superimposing the brand Coke all throughout it. So as I'm like, breathe. And then I stand up and I start telling Cadence kind of in a loud voice. So Cadence, that is a type of marketing called emotional manipulation. And they get you to feel something and then they put a product in front of you. So then you associate that good feeling with that product. And then when you see it, you think, I want to feel happy, I'm going to buy a Coke. So I was like, I just want you to be aware and think critically and not just get caught up in what we see all around us, right? And Heather's kind of like, here we go, Rainbow. And I'm thinking, and then something else happened in the next thing, and I said something a little loud, and then I was like, oh goodness, am I going to get us kicked out of the World Coke because of my opinions here? So I just decided, let it go. I was very tempted to walk out the door and go to the museum literally on the same courtyard next door, which is the Human Rights and Justice Museum. I will go there next time, but I made a commitment to spend some fun family time, and I then just kind of surrendered to the experience and went and, filled up on my cups of the free soda from all around the world, and all was well. But there was something else to that, too. It was super crowded because it was a holiday weekend, right? And again, just from this point of noticing and observing, always being the observer in our own lives, but also just how human culture and how people are. So we know that, right, scarcity drives us in some way. So the fact that there are these limited amount of soda stations, although it's free, it's like an all-you-can-drink Coke buffet, and so many people, people just get, and the adults that are running over and pushing aside our little ones when we're trying to have an educational experience, talking about the different countries where the sodas are. No one was having it. They just wanted to get in and get their sugar drink and sugar boost. That's another talk. I apologize. I just had to get that out of my system. The point is, all of these messages from the world and from these major brands that can often co-opt so much our time and attention through their marketing, they really miss the mark on true self-care. And it perpetuates this grind culture of work hard to play hard. Work hard, play hard, work hard, play hard. And there's no in between. So what if instead we were to live a balanced life in which downtime and rest and self-care was just an integral part of the natural flow of our day. And these messages further miss the mark when they tell you that there's something outside of ourselves that we must get in order to feel whole, right? Because what we know is that we are already whole. We are perfect beings living in an imperfect society, filled with expectations, the society with expectations well beyond what any human can actually achieve without eventually breaking down or getting so sick and tired of the way things are that we become literally too sick and tired to actually even enjoy life anymore. And what I know is that if we stop and consciously think about it, none of us would actually choose that for ourselves. You know, we don't desire for ourselves, our friends, our families to work so hard for something that someday may come when I may then have enough time or money to rest, instead of just being so worn out that we don't even have the energy to do what we desire and want in order to experience the joy of life. So it's easy to get swept up in the energy and the culture all around us if we are not being mindful and noticing at every point what those messages are telling us. And just notice it, name it, and then choose whether or not to buy into it. So our theme for this whole year is living out loud. And this means this idea of getting to live life to the fullest, to experience deep fulfillment in all areas of our lives. So self-care is an integral part of this, something to be embraced, not just as a once-a-year vacation, but as this integrated daily practice. And this is something that I think is particularly unique to our Western culture, and particularly here in the United States, of work, 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 and then maybe a little vacation to get enough rest to then fuel yourself to go back to work, or whatever it be, work, volunteer. I mean, there's always something, even if you were retired from work, the yard, the house, the next, the this, the that, right? Volunteer opportunities, so much that we desire to do. So how do we find balance? And that's what I noticed last summer when I had the opportunity to go to Ecuador for 3 weeks. That felt so luxurious to me. Never in my life had I had a 3-week vacation. So we go and we're traveling and we're meeting people from all over the world, and how long are you going to be here? And so proud to say 3 weeks. And they're like, oh, that's all? Oh, you know, most people were there for at least 3 months, you know, from other cultures. That's the culture in most other countries, to really experience the joy of life. And so that really was a shock to me when I would be like, I get 3 weeks off. Oh, I was like, that was not the reaction I expected. And to find out people are there for months on end. So then I got to set a new, what we call here, mental equivalent, right? A new concept of what is possible, a new goal for myself to be like, oh, there are people in the world that get to travel on vacation for 3 months out of the year. And not when they're retired, or not when they're in their 20s, but when they're in their 40s like me, with their families, in the middle, in the height of their career. That's a new concept. Okay, something to consider, right? So self-care starts with being able to know that we deserve it. It starts with a conscious intention. It starts with a belief that we are worthy. And it starts with the willingness to make it a priority. And it doesn't, like I say, have to look like the commercials tell us it looks like. Long, luxurious bubble baths with just the right essential oil and all the candles and the perfect crystals laid out with the perfect music, which I love, it's true. But there are other ways to experience self-care that don't either have to take as much time or as many things if we embrace it as a mindset or a lifestyle. It's like a shift in our mind to open up to this idea of self-care, like our daily habits, our daily rituals, right? We have been trained since we were little to brush our teeth every day. And we do it, I hope, for the most part. But how many of us were told the importance of caring for our minds and our hearts in this way, for our little spirit? That was something that definitely my parents were on the cutting edge of when I was young. They would let me, if need be, take a day off of school for what we just called, a mental health day or a self-care day. I didn't have to get to the point where I was physically sick so then I could get a doctor's note so I have an excuse not to go to school. If I have some kind of emotion going on that they recognize, taking a day to talk, to process, to meditate, to sleep, to go for a walk is what my soul called for, and I didn't have to get sick to then prove to the world that I deserved a break, right? And that really stuck with me. And I'm not saying I always listen to my body when it starts to bring up those feels of you need a break. I do often push myself to the limits, but I am interested. I am invested in always noticing and coming back to the possibility of what I truly desire by changing my mind and making a new behavior change or a new habit or a new action, to come back to rest, to come back to an integrated, balanced life of caring and honoring and loving myself. Making the commitment to self-care is a deep practice of self-love. So knowing that we are whole, perfect, and worthy just as we are, that there's nothing that we need to do to prove that, is the kind of base belief that must be instilled through reminding ourselves over and over and over that we are worthy. And once that belief system is what we are building our life from, it is much easier to then make choices and to create behavior patterns and habits that then are based on self-love and based on our worthiness, that we get to choose what we do with our time, with our life. We get to choose to honor, to care for ourselves, to take these micro moments of tenderness, to recenter, to bring us back to that place of calm and stillness. And it is literally a micro moment. One breath can completely shift our experience. Instead of running on autopilot, on reaction, notice the swirling energy in our body, having the awareness to breathe, to slow it down, to return to calm, and then decide. And to remember we are always at choice. So the first step, and I feel like I say this all the time, and I'm going to keep saying it to myself as well, is self-awareness. We have to be aware of what's going on around us and in our body to even notice when we are out of sync or out of flow or living in a way that isn't our truest desire. So I want you to take a moment now and just kind of enter into a little self-reflection. We're going to look at and explore what is our current relationship with self-care. So if you were to rate your relationship to self-care now, again, you don't have to share this with anyone, you're just in your own mind, on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being, I am rocking this thing called self-care, and 1 being, what? Where are you? Just check in, just in general with self-care. And now, if you were to ask your body, if your body had a voice to speak, where would it say you are on the scale of self-care, 1 to 10? What about your mind, your mental health and clarity? Where would your mind say you are? And what about your heart, your spirit, your soul, the true essence, that pulse that is beating, bringing the very life energy to you, through you? What would your heart say? So we start with awareness, not from a place of shame or judgment. That's where we often go to, right? And not even from a place of, okay, so what do I do about it? That is me, right? I know, what's the solution? Great. Let's not dwell on it. What are we going to do about it? Slow down, Rainbow, I have to tell myself. Breathe and just notice. Because if you sit with it a moment longer, if you sit in the noticing a moment longer before trying to jump to some solution, there may be an even deeper level. There may be something even more under the surface of that which we think we need to change or fix or control in the effects of our lives that is the root cause of what is actually seeking attention in our lives. Dropping in to the wisdom of our body and to the wisdom of our heart. Learning to listen to the cues of our body. Yet when we are taught from some external forces that our body is something to be used or mistreated or something to stretch beyond capacity, there can be a cost. Because then we can think of it as another tool in our society as opposed to an integrated part of who we are. So always listening to the body. To stretch to the point that it's not painful, but it also doesn't feel good. There's something right there. That's the moment to stretch to. Not to the breaking point, but also not to the comfort point. Stretch to the stretching point. And every day we stretch to the stretching point just like a ballerina learning to do the splits. They go a little farther and a little farther. So is true in all areas of our life. As we continue to stretch into our own understanding of who we are, as we stretch into that infinite potential that lives within us, that is seeking to be expressed through us as us. But we must listen to our body, to what is that point to stretch, and then when to hold and breathe, and then when to relax, and then when to stretch, breathe, and relax. Going further and further, but not to the breaking point. Self-awareness. There is so much to know, so much wisdom in our body, so much wisdom in our heart, pulling us towards things through our emotions. What do we feel for? What pulls on our heartstrings? And in our minds, We know and we speak so much in this philosophy of the science of mind about the power of our minds. And self-care cannot exist separate from our minds, because it takes us noticing our thoughts and turning our thoughts to those of possibility and truth to then motivate our actions to do such things as self-care. But if we're constantly in our minds self-deprecating and demeaning ourselves, I'm not good enough, who do I think I am? That's great for them, but it just doesn't work for me. Whatever those thoughts are, those beliefs that at some point we have come to believe are true, we must wake up, pay attention, and notice so that they are not running the story of our lives unconsciously. To wake up and choose thoughts of self-love and appreciation, of acknowledgement, to choose thoughts and behaviors of self-care that honor the beautiful beings that we are. And, for many folks, that these can be kind of like a default setting, which may require a little extra mindfulness and awareness to begin to question those thoughts. And then, from awareness, is that true? We notice the thought, but really, is that true? Is that something I would say to my most beloved? Would I look into the eyes of my precious cat, dog, baby, child, niece, nephew, whatever it may be, and say, you are not worthy. Who do you think you are? You are not good enough. No, we've moved beyond that. Generations ago, perhaps they did that because that was the understanding. We got to toughen you up in order to survive this tough world. We are in a new culture. We have evolved as a consciousness to where we understand now that we do not talk to people or treat people that way. And the next evolution of consciousness is to stop doing that to ourselves, right? We've learned enough not to accept that kind of behavior as a parent or a teacher or anyone who works with our children. But do we still do it to ourselves? That is the next evolution that we are being called forth from, from this old way. So if we can get beyond all the noise of the brands that are wanting to sell us something to prove our worth, if we can get beyond that noise and reclaim the true meaning, the true power of self-care and self-love, then we take our power back. We have agency to choose and to create the world that works for everyone. We in this room have a commitment to creating a world that works for everyone, for everybody. But not everyone does. And often those that have a counter narrative to that have a loud voice, have the resources to perpetuate a different message in a very loud way throughout the human consciousness. But what I know is that love is always the answer. Love will prevail. And we are the ones that are called to know this truth, to start within ourselves, to love and care for ourselves so much so that we can take back our agency and we can take the steps to create a world that works for everyone. To pause and to breathe in a time of upset or conflict, taking that micro moment to return to center, and then consciously choose the next step. Instead of reacting and getting caught up in the cycle of attack, offend, we can choose love. Noticing our thoughts, reminding ourselves that we are love, and asking, what would love do now? And perhaps in this moment, love would say, go lay down and take a nap. Perhaps in this moment, love would say, go for a walk, get a massage, call a friend, ask for a hug. We are always at choice, so we get to take back the narrative of what self-care means. And this month, we're going to go deeper and deeper into self-love, self-care. But this week, I just went off script, so let's see. What did I want to tell y'all? This week, I wanted to invite you to simply notice. Notice how you talk to yourself. And as you begin to notice, if there are some thoughts that are perhaps a little bit more self-demeaning or negative than you desire, just notice and breathe and gently and lovingly invite yourself to shift. Taking a breath, perhaps going for that walk, stretching, moving, shaking the body, whatever you need to do in that micro moment to shift the energy. Put on your favorite song, dance, and then talk yourself up just like you would a beloved child in your life, reminding yourself of who you are with that tender love that you give to your beloved, knowing that you are worthy and you deserve it more than just chocolate and bubble baths. Be your own source of love and tenderness. And as Audre Lorde said, self-care is not self-indulgent, it is self-preservation. So don't let anyone else tell you wrong. It's not wrong to take time off, to take a nap in the middle of the day. I love naps, especially Sunday afternoons. I am napping. So we do this work for ourselves, but on behalf of the collective, because we are a microcosm of the one life that is whole, perfect, and complete. And let's remember that for ourselves and each other. Yes? We're going to do it? All right. Let's take it into prayer. So let's start with breath. And another deep breath. And yet again, the deepest breath you've had all day. Letting go, letting go. Dropping our awareness down into the center of our being. That place in space in which knows no bounds. The center of our being that is pure divine love. Knowing and recognizing love, peace, joy, as this one energy, as this one life force that is expressing in, as, and through all of us. Knowing and recognizing this energy as pure joy, as peace, as beauty, as creativity. Knowing that love is who I am. Love is the very essence and nature and truth of each and every one of us. So we come together remembering to pay attention, to notice, to seek out where love is seeking to be known. Where is love seeking to be known more fully in our lives? Where perhaps have we fallen asleep? Where have we become the cogs of a machine that someone else is driving? And through this awareness, we can return back to the true nature of who we are. Infinite potential, living in a world of infinite possibility. A divine point in which all of life and all of spirit is experiencing itself through us. Knowing that God's spirit life gets to know itself more fully through us as we claim our power, as we take back our agency and choose to live this life to the fullest, directed by love, guided by peace and joy. Just taking a moment to allow any messages or patterns or behaviors or old ways of being that no longer serve this highest good of who we are and who we are becoming to fall back to the nothingness from which they came. We choose in this moment to drop it like it's hot and say yes to the love and truth and peace and joy and possibility of life and who we are. Embracing self-care, self-tenderness, and self-love. Radically embracing self-love, for love is who we are. And it is time to let that be known and seen throughout this world. So I say yes right here, right now. Yes to life. Yes to what life and love would have me do right now in this beloved body temple, with this unique heart that is mine, with this unique mind that is mine to say, to do, to speak, to share, to create with this world from a place of wholeness and worthiness, knowing that there's nothing that can stand in the way of the pure power of the universe. The same power that created the cosmos is creating right here, right now, through each of us. We get to choose the life that we live. So we know that love is the foundation. Love is who we are. And it is with great, great gratitude for the fulfillment of this word that I release it into the action of the law that always says yes, 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 my beloved. It says yes. It is reflecting back to us exactly what we say and put into it, and it simply says yes. So I choose today to say love is who I am. I choose to say today to say peace is who I am. Joy is who I am. Yes, thank you, life. Thank you, God. Yes, says the universe back. It is so. And we say, and so it is.